hope you're enjoying the Women's Health and Fitness Summit. I'm so sorry that I can't join you in person, but as we speak, I'll be keeping myself fit and healthy by hiking in the McDonnell Ranges in Central Australia. Firstly, I'd like to thank and congratulate Michelle Wright for bringing this summit together. It's an important initiative that highlights the importance of women's health and fitness issues and brings women together to learn from each other. My role is to talk to you about women and leadership. The first important point that I want to make is that leaders don't create followers, they create new leaders. And this summit is an example of how that statement has been brought alive. I believe people in the health and fitness industry have a natural inclination towards leadership. Having physical fitness is a key success factor. It helps you to be more energetic, focused, resilient, which are often characteristics of great leaders. So the good news is that we're in front already. However, today, in 2014, still there's significant inequity between men and women in many domains and a vast underrepresentation of women in leadership positions in Australia. Why is this so? I want to stress that this is not a case of having a shot against men. There is gender inequity in Australia, it's an acknowledged fact, and it's institutionalised in a range of settings within our society, including our homes, schools and workplaces. It's therefore a responsibility of all of us in society, men and women, to do our bit to address the imbalance. So let's take a few facts about gender inequity. At the federal government level, there is only one woman in a cabinet of 19 members. This represents only 5.3%, and this is despite the fact that 48% of ministerial staff are women, so there is no shortage of talent. Currently, there are no female premiers of state governments. The only woman in political leadership is the Chief Minister of the ACT. Now, if women are not in decision-making roles at the highest levels of government, it's very difficult for gender equality to be achieved elsewhere. Women only account for 15.8% of directors on listed company boards and only 24.4% on National Sporting Association boards. Interestingly, women account for 22.2% of all directors on the Fitness Australia board, so we're even below the average for sporting associations. So we really must do something about that. Australia also has a persistent gender pay gap. In 2010, the Australian gender pay gap was around 16%. And we know that that just can't be explained by differences in individual or workplace characteristics between women and men, and the discrimination plays an important role in the gender pay gap. Quite recently, Australia had its first female Prime Minister. And the fact that this was so remarkable is, in my opinion, a sad state of affairs. Many other nations have been ably led by women for decades, with very little fuss made of the fact that it was a woman and not a man who was in charge. In addition, Julia Gillard was treated differently and in some instances appallingly by her colleagues, by the media and by the public because of her gender. Basically, I think Australians need to grow up. So that we know the glass ceiling is alive and well. This is the unseen yet unbreachable barrier that keeps women from rising to leadership positions regardless of their qualifications or achievements. But we don't want to be thought of as victims or as being held back. So what else is stopping us? My belief is that all of these cultural norms are so firmly entrenched that some people, men and women, end up believing that they're just not capable of being leaders. Is this because the dominant leadership paradigm is so vastly different to how they perceive themselves? The archetypical leadership style of authority, command and control that's been so dominant for centuries still exists and is still worshipped in the corridors of power. So I'm not surprised at the lack of women in political power. Who would want to behave like that? But it's not about changing women, it's about changing the system. That's why all leaders, male and female, have to stand up and take leadership action to address this issue. And it's not about giving a hand out to women, it's about giving a hand up. So let's agree that next time we have a female Prime Minister, we'll just say, "Congratulations, PM," and move on. But it's good to know that change is happening, and increasingly a lot more value is being placed on different styles of leadership. And this is where women can shine. It's all too easy for us to think about leaders as some sort of mythological creature who's separate from the rest of humanity and empowered by some mysterious quality that smooths their path towards inevitable success. This is the traditional view of leadership, that leaders are somehow marked out for leadership very early on in their lives, and that if you're not a leader, there's little you can do to become one. But that's not how we see it now. The contemporary view is that through patience, persistence and hard work, anyone can be a highly effective leader. In my own case, this is very true. So what I'm going to talk to you about over the next few minutes is how to work at becoming a highly effective leader. And there are three main things that I want to share with you. Firstly, the power of self-confidence and a positive attitude. 2, the characteristics of a level 5 leader. And 3, how to use these things to master the art of leadership. There's no doubt in my mind that great leadership takes self-belief, self-confidence and a positive attitude. I may be generalising here, but I think women often lack self-belief and self-confidence. And remember, this is partly due to the cultural issue of gender inequity in society that I mentioned earlier. So it's somewhat hardwired into us from an early age. This lack of self-confidence is a limiting factor in becoming an effective leader. As leaders in any situation, there is no greater gift than you can give to someone else than helping them improve their self-confidence. Maybe you recognise some of these actions or behaviours in yourself or the people around you. For instance, governing your behaviour based on what other people think, staying in your comfort zone, fearing failure, avoiding risk, working hard to cover up mistakes so no one notices, or blaming others and not taking responsibility for things. Dismissing compliments offhandedly, saying, "Oh, that was nothing, oh, anyone could have done that." These are some of the behaviours that are associated with a lack of self-confidence. The good news is that anyone can work to improve self-confidence by being more aware of their behaviour and practising things such as doing what you believe to be right, even if others might criticise you for it, being courageous, being willing to take risks, go the extra mile to achieve better things, admitting your mistakes and learning from them, accepting compliments graciously. For example, "Thank you, I worked very hard on that task. I'm pleased you recognised my efforts." If you want to develop as a leader, or you want to help others develop their leadership skills, you can start by being more aware of your behaviours and practising behaviours that engender self-confidence, while moving away from behaviours that have a negative effect on self-confidence. There are two other main things that contribute to self-confidence: self-efficacy and self-esteem. Self-efficacy is when we see ourselves and others similar to ourselves mastering skills and achieving goals that matter in those skill areas. And self-esteem is a sense that we can cope with what's going on in our lives and that we have a right to be happy. Throw in a dose of good positive attitude and you're well on your way to effective leadership. But these are some of the simple things that I have worked hard on over the past few years, and I continue to develop and master them. And now I feel very comfortable with my leadership style, my accomplishments and abilities. I'm now self-confident, but never arrogant. So this leads me into my next topic, which is level 5, leadership. And I can confidently describe myself as a level 5 leader. This concept was created in the mid-1990s by Jim Collins in his book From Good to Great. And it takes a very disciplined approach, but level 5 leadership is what we all need to aspire to. Level 5 leaders do things like develop humility, ask for help, take responsibility, take risks, push boundaries, develop discipline, find the right people and take care of them, lead with passion, gain multiple perspectives, respect opinions, but be fearless when making decisions. And last but not least, they are authentic. You have to be true to yourself and your values to be an effective leader. Don't try to be like someone else. This will be very stressful for you. Don't try to meet someone else's expectations or perceptions of what a good leader looks like. If you stick with the basic principles and characteristics of a level 5 leader, you can't go wrong. Now, how do you put all of this into practice? You have to learn these skills, but the big test is how you apply these skills, and that's what it takes. Practice, practice, practice. When you become comfortable with operating in this way, in all facets of your life, not just at work, you will be an effective leader. So firstly, you have to practice self-awareness. Before you can understand and lead others, you must understand yourself. What are your values? What are your strengths and weaknesses? What are your belief systems? What are you passionate about? Spend some time reflecting on these things periodically and write them down. This is central to the creation of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions and those of people around you. And some of these points have been taken from a great online resource called mindtools.com. So I encourage you to check it out. People with a high degree of emotional intelligence know what they're feeling, what their emotions mean, and how these emotions can affect other people. After all, who's more likely to succeed? A leader who shouts at her team when she's under stress, or a leader who stays in control and calmly assesses the situation? I've experienced so many situations where the people in charge lack emotional intelligence. This ultimately leads to a loss of trust and respect. So I'm going to spend a bit more time on this. There are 5 main elements of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. As a leader, you can connect with this. So let's look at each element in more detail and examine how you can grow as a leader. Self-awareness. If you're self-aware, you always know how you feel, you know how your emotions and your actions can affect the people around you. Being self-aware when you're in a leadership position also means having a clear picture of your strengths and weaknesses. And it means behaving with humility. So what can you do to improve your self-awareness? Firstly, you can slow down. When you experience anger or other strong emotions, slow down to examine why. Remember, no matter what the situation, you can always choose how you're going to react to it. And record it. We've already talked about writing down your values and goals, beliefs, strengths and weaknesses. This is vital for self-awareness and reflection and continuous improvement. Second is self-regulation. Leaders who regulate themselves effectively rarely verbally attack others, make rushed or emotional decisions, stereotype people, or compromise their values. Self-regulation is about staying in control. So how can you improve your ability to self-regulate? Well, know your values. Do you have a clear idea of where you absolutely will not compromise? Do you know what values are most important to you? Spend some time examining your code of ethics. If you know what's most important to you, then you probably won't have to think twice when you face a moral or ethical decision. You will just make the right choice. And hold yourself accountable. If you tend to blame others when something goes wrong, stop, make a commitment to your mistakes and face the consequences, whatever they are. You'll probably sleep better at night and you'll quickly earn the respect of those around you. Practice being calm. The next time you're in a challenging situation, be very aware of how you act. Do you relieve your stress by shouting at someone else? Practice deep breathing exercises to calm yourself. Also, try to write down all of the negative things you want to say and then rip it up and throw it away. Expressing these emotions on paper and not showing them to anyone is better than speaking them aloud to your team or anyone else. What's more, this helps you challenge your reactions to ensure that they're fair. 3. Motivation. Self-motivated leaders work consistently towards their goals, and they have extremely high standards for the quality of their work. How can you improve your motivation? Re-examine why you're doing your job. It's easy to forget what you really love about your career. So take some time to remember why you wanted to do this job in the first place. And if you're unhappy with your role and you're struggling to remember why you wanted it, try to find the root of the problem. Starting at the root often helps you look at your situation in a new way. And make sure your goal statements are fresh and energising. Know where you stand. Determine how motivated you are to lead. Be hopeful and find something good. Motivated leaders are usually optimistic, no matter what problems they face. Adopting this mindset might take practice, but it's well worth the effort. Every time you face a challenge or even a failure, try to find at least one good thing about the situation. It might be something small, like a new contact, or something with long-term effects, like an important lesson that's learned. But there's always something positive if you look for it. Fourth thing is empathy. And for leaders, having empathy is critical to managing a successful team or organisation. Leaders with empathy have the ability to put themselves in someone else's situation. They help develop the people on their team, they challenge others who are acting unfairly, and they give constructive feedback. And they listen to those who need it. If you want to earn the respect and loyalty of your team, then show them you care by being empathic. How can you improve this? Put yourself in someone else's position. It's easy to point to your own point of view. After all, it's yours. But take the time to look at situations from other people's perspectives. And pay attention to body language. Body language would tell you how you really feel about a situation and if the message you're giving isn't positive. Learning to read body language can be a real asset in a leadership role because you'll be better able to determine how someone truly feels. And this gives you the opportunity to respond more appropriately. And you must respond to feelings. If someone is disappointed in something that you've asked them to do, respond to their feelings with understanding. Also, people with social skills are great communicators, and this is something you need to practice as well. They're open to hearing bad news as well as good news. They're expert at getting their team to support them, and they get excited about a new mission or a project. So leaders who have good social skills are also good at managing change and resolving conflicts diplomatically. They're rarely satisfied with leaving things as they are, but they don't just sit back and make everyone else do the work. They set an example with their own behaviour. So learn how to build your social skills. Learn about conflict resolution. Leaders must know how to resolve conflicts between their team members and their customers. Improve your communication skills. How well do you communicate? Learn to praise others. As a leader, you can inspire the loyalty of your team simply by giving praise when it's earned. Learning how to praise others is a fine art, but well worth the effort. Well, that's all from me. It's been great to be able to pass on some wisdom about leadership to some established and emerging female leaders. Just remember, with time, effort, practice and patience, it's possible for anyone to become an effective leader, and it's very worthwhile. When you feel comfortable with your leadership style and effectiveness, you can really shine and you can help others to achieve their full potential. I know that Mish is aiming to expand the reach and influence of this event from 2015 with 3 days of workshops, seminars and TED-style talks. So that's very, very exciting, and it's something to look forward to. I wish you all the very best for the rest of the summit. Go girls, and bye for now.